All right. So my name's Joel Tyner, former Dutchess County legislator here in Portlandia, Oregon, 2,500 miles away from the action. I'm here with Neil Seldman of Zero Waste USA. My mom, Judy Malstrom, who's the co-director of Zero Waste Dutchess. Doreen Tignanelli, who first clued me into all this 5 weeks ago. She sent me an email about the Albany Times-Union article. And Dave Heller, with his passionate, eloquent, articulate remarks at last night's county legislature meeting. Neil, I know there's only five of us on, but Margaret Mead, right? Never underestimate the ability of a small group of people to get things done. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. There's a lot
think about Vladimir Lenin.
that one too.
Yeah.
You got me on that one. Neil, before we do anything, what are you doing in Warren County? And why can't we do that in Dutchess County? Talk about what you're doing in Warren County.
I'm working with a group called Zero Waste Warren County. Two of the prominent women there are Tracy Frisch and Diane Collins. And we noticed that the county was spending, towns in the county were spending inordinate amounts of money shipping mixed recyclables from Warren County about an hour south to Albany for processing. The shipping cost about $100 and the processing cost about $100 per ton. And we realized that if the towns, instead of each town has a little mini transfer station where people bring their waste and their recyclables. So we noticed that we calculated that if each town, when people dropped off, kept their materials separate, glass, plastic, paper, etc., metal, and baled the materials, that markets, companies that want this material to make new paper, new plastic products, etc., could send a truck and pick up baled materials all along the roads in Warren County and then bring it to the paper mills or plastic processing plants. And we calculated that this turnaround would mean $200,000 for the county, which is a rural county. It does have two cities, Glens Falls and Queensbury, but a good part of the county is relatively low income and rural. And we estimated that $200,000 a year turnaround is a significant amount of money wherever you live. And so the county listened to us. We worked through town supervisors. The county prepared a proposal, submitted it, got a grant for about $1.5 million. Excuse me, I'm having trouble with my throat. But I do not know who funded it, whether it was federal funding or state funding. I do forget. We could find out certainly. And the county is now implementing the program. Zero Waste Warren County and I have different ideas about how it should be implemented than the county officials do, and we're meeting with them and talking to them and putting our arguments for a certain type of truck and certain type of vehicle. We've also contacted a company, very interesting company called Replen-yish. I know it sounds strange, but it's Replen and then Y-I-S-H. And this is a national company that specializes in picking up source-separated material and bringing it to mills and sharing the money with the community groups, or the county government shares the money that is sold, that is earned from the revenue of selling these materials. And that company is willing to take all these materials and help the county market them. So that's another part of the discussions and the planning that we're having with the city. With the county. I just want to emphasize that I'm an advisor to Zero Waste Warren. Diane and Tracy do the negotiations, although I am very friendly with some of the town supervisors through my wife's work. My wife grew up in Warren County. And they've been incredibly helpful, very creative people. They saw the possibility of saving this money, and also recovering more materials for recycling and then going to a landfill. This is important for the neighboring counties because Washington County in Fort Edward, I believe, has a garbage incinerator that's been polluting them just as Westchester and Westchester and Dutchess counties are being polluted. All these three incinerators were built at around the same time, about 25, 30 years ago, and they were all aging out. And so all these counties are in the same battle to get common sense and economic basics to apply to the waste stream. And I'll end this little summary of Warren County by saying that the one lesson I've learned, and I've been a manufacturer, I've been a professor, over these past 50 years, the best way to manage materials in the waste stream are to keep it separate, stupid. If you mix it, you're stupid. Because if you take glass, paper, banana peels, you name it, mix it all together, you got junk, you got to pay a lot of money to put it in a landfill or an incinerator. Whether you put it in either one, it's a pollutant and a tremendous cost to the environment and to public health. But if you keep things separate, you have a raw material that has value. And each step that you take with your raw material, you create value, you add value. You take a bunch of newspaper, might be worth, let's say corrugated, might be worth $50 a ton loose. You bale it, it's worth $100 a ton. So just from baling it, you've added value, and that value stays in the community through good jobs, small businesses, etc. So if you keep your stuff separate, you have many, many options that create jobs, good jobs, family wage jobs with family level benefits. I should say family level wages and benefits in reuse, recycling, and composting. Also, if you use these techniques to deal with your materials, the cost of operating a solid waste management system could be cut by around 2/3, possibly even 50%, depending upon how inefficient your current system is. For example, in the counties that have incinerators, you certainly could cut it by around 50%. And that's mainly because there are a tremendous number of subsidies that go to these garbage incinerators, which is, of course, is another subject. But the subsidies, when you keep things separate, and you have a raw material, put labor into it, you don't need subsidies. There's a market for it. There's a myth that there are no markets. Since the Chinese debacle, 2018, 2017, 18, there have been more domestic markets built in the United States than in the past 50 years. Paper mills, plastic processes, electronic scrap recycling. Over the last few years, it's at least $5 billion has gone into domestic facilities that need raw materials to make new products. And in fact, I wrote an article on this called The Second US Recycling Revolution. The first one was in 1970, when grassroots people got the country to recycle. And I say that 2018 was the second revolution, when America realized that you don't have to ship stuff, mixed garbage to China. You just keep the stuff clean and use it here in the United States to create jobs, etc.
Unmute yourself, Joel.
I'm sorry. There's no markets, Neil. What you don't understand is County Executive. Hi, Mike. County Executive O'Neill has informed us there are no markets for these materials.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'd be very happy to retire to Warren and Dutchess County and set up a brokerage. If the county executive will start recycling, I'll broker the material for him. And in fact, I've got a nice pension. I'll do it for free. I'll become the county's broker for free. And I'll guarantee that clean materials will be marketed. In fact, I would also, I guess, I don't know the markets that well, but I'm finding out more and more I would say you can market that material within 500 miles of Dutchess County.
Is that what's needed, a broker?
No, you don't need a broker. Governments could do it themselves, but brokers are experts.
Obviously not.
Yeah. Actually, if the Warren County program, the way that I and Tracy and Diane conceive of it, if we already have a broker, this company Replenish, they will do the brokering. This is very, it should be interesting to people because starting during the summer, this past summer, I, Tracy, and Diane were making phone calls to mills to get prices, get trucking requirements, the bale requirements, because each company wants their bales different size, etc. We had problems. We had a mill very close by to Warren County, but the mill, the SD mill, shut down right in the middle of our calls, and we were trying to find the plastic companies, the electronic scrap companies, and then we found Replenish, and they said, "Hey, that's our business. We'll do it for you, and we'll split the revenue with you." So Warren County actually has their broker, and that broker could serve Dutchess County and Westchester, etc. So you're right, Judy. You don't need a broker. You could sign on with a company like Replenish and have what's called a shared savings program.
Sounds good.
And will be. I happen to know the name of the local representative from Replenish. His name is Ryan, Ryon, and his last name is Hart, Hart. And I'm sure if he's working in Warren County, he'd be very happy to work in Dutchess County.
Amazing.
And he was on our Zoom call a couple weeks ago.
Oh, hey, good.
Listen, I'm just.
Is that what? Oh, that was it. That was the one.
He was with us. The only reason
The only
reason I know about him is because of Neil. So I'm just spitballing here. In addition to hopefully trying to get, maybe Tommy Zerhelen, Lisa Call, maybe some current elected officials, mayors, town board, city councilor, county legislator candidates, current elected officials, Zerhelen, in addition to getting political people to stand next to Neil for a photo op that the media should cover, but they probably won't. But at least it'll be good for social media, which is important. Maybe we could try to get Tracy or Diane or Ryan to come speak at a forum because Neil's going to be in Poughkeepsie October 9th. Now I know, Mom, we may not be able to get Millbrook or the Cornell Cooperative Extension in Dutchess County that I know you've been talking to them. But if we could find, if worst comes to worst, the Palace Diner, you could put some tables together so 10 or 15, 20 people, set it up in time. It could be at a diner, but hopefully at Clinton Town Hall or Poughkeepsie City Hall, or I'm just spitballing here, or maybe a picnic outside at the park at Warriors Park.
October, easy does it.
Right. So I'm just thinking off the top of my head, not very clearly. But my point is that for weeks now, Neil's been talking about not just a press conference rally, which would be run in front of the incinerator or right at this beautiful park on the river, or right in front of the county office building, but not just that event, but also some sort of a teach-in or lecture or.
I would really prefer that, actually.
Maybe at Vassar,
well, we'll scout those things. We'll scout a place.
Actually, years ago, Joel, recall we did have several meetings at Vassar, and in fact, Shabazz it was a joint presentation with Shabazz and Josephine.
Let's try to, because Kirsten Manking, she's very, very busy with the beginning of the year, but let's see if at Vassar or Bard or Marist or somewhere like that. I've not given Mike Ewall a chance to speak, or Doreen or Mom that much, or Dave. Oh, Dave has his hand. Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, so Judy and I were talking today earlier, and she pointed out, what's the big rush? Why are they rushing? Because there was a vote last night to postpone the decision for a few months to get more input, and the Republicans immediately torpedoed it. And so, the woman who's heading up the thing, she said there is no reason we can't wait, and they they steamrolled it through anyway, which kind of begs the question, like, what's their end goal here? I'm wondering, like, do they need stuff to burn to make this thing work? And
No, what I think is happening, and again, this is my speculation. I reread their report. Joe sent it to me because last week there was some. We weren't clear whether they were planning on building a second one or not. So I reread the report, and it's very, very clear. They're admitting that the current incinerator is falling apart. They didn't say that in those many words, but it's falling apart, and it needs a lot of money, both to operate the incinerator, but also the pollution control equipment, which is not only expensive to build, but it's very expensive to operate pollution control. And right after that paragraph in which they said the thing is falling apart, they say, well, our best option is to build another one. And when you have to build another one, they're going to have to issue at least $500 million worth of bonds. And that's what it's all about. $500 million worth of bonds, take 15% of that, that's 5 times 15, that's $75 million, I believe. That is a cache of CACHE cache of money that the county executive and his political allies get to allocate. And they allocate it to lawyers, consultants, etc. And that forms the financial patronage which assures loyalty, and it also assures campaign contributions. All of this is very legal. We might think it's corrupt. I objectively would say it's an undemocratic way of doing business, but it's the legal state of the art in the United States at this time. So I would say that the big rush that they have is to get the bonds issued. That's when everybody gets paid off. And in fact, what happens after that makes no difference to them. They could build a big pyramid instead of an incinerator, and they'll still be very happy.
They just pushed through this $200 million jail. Go ahead, Dave.
No, I would have, maybe rephrased my illiterate pyromaniacs comment to something a little different.
Right.
Maybe money grubbing, add money grubbing to it.
Well, no, it really does explain a lot of these things and a lot of these programs that they come up with and why they keep going, and we have no control over them. It's because they have set it up this way. Yeah.
And the people who run the prisons, the people who run the incinerator, the bureaucrats, the officials, they truly believe that incineration is safe and a good thing.
Right.
But it's because it's their career, it's their identity. I understand it, but but what they have to do, they have to suspend science and create an ideology of incineration. And just reading the Dutchess County report, you could see the ideology. You could see the false emphasis, the false crisis, etc. There is a crisis, but it's not a crisis of incineration. It's a crisis of consumption and what to do with what economists call the excretions of production that we have to deal with. The simplest thing is to put it all together in a bunch and light a match.
Hey, Jill Fieldstein of SavedOver.org is here. Hey, Jill. Hey, Mike, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I would say it's also a crisis of laziness. A lot of times I present information about how much more polluting and expensive incineration is compared to any other waste management method or energy production method. And people always ask me, well, why would any local government officials go for such a dumb idea? And my response to that, I'm not trying to be sarcastic or anything. I think it's literally a combination of laziness, stupidity, and corruption. And people often overestimate how much corruption is involved. Yes, there are examples like Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, where the biggest city bankruptcy in the country because of their incinerator. Totally exactly what Neil was saying about bond debt fueling the campaigns of the mayor in that case. A very corrupt situation that kept that incinerator going. But usually it doesn't take corruption. Politicians are very cheap. You can buy them for a sandwich. and they're not that are busy into the
Hey.
Joel. But they're not digging into and researching these types of things. And so they easily fall for the sales pitch. And it's not just the politicians, but it's the solid waste managers of cities and counties that point to the community and say, those people are too lazy and uneducated, and they are not going to recycle. Well, yeah, there's an element to education being needed, but it's not that people are being lazy. It's that the public officials that are talking in those terms are being lazy because they're the ones responsible for making sure that people have the education, have the tools like the bins that they need, have the collection service that they need, and have the economic incentive that they need, like a pay-as-you-throw system. And you put those things in place, and voila, all those lazy people all of a sudden aren't lazy anymore. And they're doing a great job of reducing waste, recycling, and composting. So it's these waste that are being lazy, thinking, oh, whoever comes to me with a black box where I can just take everything and throw it all in one place and it all goes away, then that's why they're attracted to this. That and the financial kickbacks that Neil also did.
That's good.
Very good.
Jill, did you want to chime in? We are recording this session. I don't know if you knew this.
Yeah, I saw that. No, I just love what Mike just said. I mean, that was, I so wish I could have come last night because all I heard on Friday was an abdication of responsibility of what a representative is supposed to do and to lead and move us forward. And they just sort of raised their hand. What can we do about people's behavior? So thank you, Mike. That was great.
Isn't it true that O'Neill said he either put it in an email or he said, hey, if you got a better plan, let me know? Didn't he say that publicly?
I believe he did.
Probably.
So
We'll wait until we have it all worked out and in place, and then we'll go to him and he won't have a chance to.
But it's all relative. Like, better means he gets more money to dole out to people. And if we have a plan that he doesn't have that opportunity, then it's not a better plan for him.
Right.
Might be a better plan for us, but not for him. So
Well,
That's exactly right, Dave.
keep in mind that he is not going to be the county executive no matter what, because in November it'll be two other people are vying for this position.
You know, thank you, Judy, for mentioning that. That's another aspect, and I'm sure Mike can talk to you about this. But solid waste management, county executives, is a very famous story, which I'll tell you in a moment. They like to build an incinerator or a big bridge because it shows that they've got guts. They're tough. They could bring in a big project. And lo and behold, when they retire from politics, they get a job at these companies. And the biggest example of that is Westchester. Senator Pothole. What was his name? The senator from New York State.
Al D'Amato.
D'Amato. He was a county executive. He brought in that incinerator. He bulldozed it in. He showed that he was a tough guy. He was a reliable guy. He was a good old boy. And he went to the Senate. I think he was in the Senate for 20 years. And after plaguing Westchester County, he plagued the rest of the country.
I got to share something else. I've been strategizing with some folks and looking at, it is true that since 1997, I've been looking at people who are involved in writing bonds in Dutchess County are part of the legalized kickbacks with Steinhaus, Molinaro, et cetera, et cetera. But guess what? This morning, I was looking at the New York State Board of Elections database, and We Liberator, I'm sure they've given a bunch, but Covanta, who up until, I don't know, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years ago, ran the Dutchess County incinerator in Poughkeepsie for decades. Covanta has given a ton of money to Republicans. I'm just being open and honest here. And like a couple $5,000 checks to George Latimer, the great progressive Democratic county executive of Westchester. You want to know why that incinerator may not be shutting down anytime soon in Peekskill? Yeah. And Kevin Cahill. I love him so much. Terry Gibson. Kevin Cahill and Terry Gibson are two of the best Democratic politicians that have been around in Hudson Valley. And Molinaro. 11 years ago, Covanta gave Mark Molinaro, who was Dutchess County executive for like 10, 11, 12 years. Molinaro got $500 from Covanta in 2011. But the sad thing is, unfortunately, it's bipartisan. It's mostly Republicans, but there are some notable Democratic exceptions. Anyway. I don't know where we go from here. I know I'm going to make a flyer and I'm going to submit it for your approval. And the flyer is going to have the pictures of, I love him dearly, but the 7 Democrats, and Randy Johnson's not going to be one of them, the 7 Democrats who had the guts to vote the right way. Because that's open and public. The vote happened last night. And so basically, the flyer is going to say, and this is for your approval, the people on this call and other people involved, you know, Zero Waste Dutchess, thanks. And I have their pictures. It'll have a picture of Yvette Valdez-Smith and Barrington Atkins, the 2 top Democrats in the county legislature, and the other 5. And with your approval, I might also have a picture, and hopefully with Tommy Zerhellen's approval, the Democratic candidate for county executive, you know, Tommy agrees, where it may be Tommy Zerhellen is not ready to have those 2 words zero waste be next to his on a campaign flyer or on any flyer, because Republicans and the media want to try to brainwash people all too often. Zero waste is crazy. You can't get to zero waste. Hey, that's why we need the incinerator. So I get it if Tommy Zerhellen doesn't want to have those 2 words next to him. But how controversial is it going to be for Tommy Zerhellen's picture and name to be next to these 7 Democratic elected officials who justifiably, understandably voted the right way? They voted no to the solid waste management plan last night because it didn't have any real way to increase composting, because it wasn't serious about recycling. And even Lisa Call, if you were watching the comments last night, she wasn't afraid to say it. Lisa Call said zero waste. She was talking about the Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act. And I know maybe I said this Sunday morning, but I'll just say it again. Manager Joe Green, current Ulster County legislator for Rosendale, former longtime Hudson River Sloop Clearwater environmental director. Manager Joe Green sent me a text message Friday morning saying, Joel, the CLCPA, this great landmark environmental legislation that passed a year or 2 ago in Albany, statewide, we need to make sure this is a test case. If we can shut down Dan Scammer, this wants to rev up as a frack gas power plant in the Hudson Valley in Newburgh, and use the CLCPA on that, well, and of course, all the big name environmental groups are in on that one, then, and there were a lot of Sierra clubs. You could say, I think we're so close to saying that the Mid-Hudson Sierra Club is pro-zero waste, or at least the Mid-Hudson Sierra Club is against what they're doing. And so I think it's only a matter of time before we get we should have a Lolita Malik or somebody else at that forum or at that press conference rally with you, Neil. But I'm just letting everybody know.
She did a really great job of explaining that this.
Doreen Tignanelli wanted to say something. Yep. Go ahead, Doreen.
Joel, as far as Tommy Zerhellen here, now I understand that you want to put him on this flyer, but what has he done? I mean, his campaign guy was on the very first call. So we've had 1, 2, 3. This is the 4th one since then. Has he contacted you? Has he made any comment at any of the meetings? I don't.
He hasn't contacted me, although he said he would. Not the candidate, but Ted said he would, but he has not.
Yes, if they haven't done anything, then I am not in favor of sort of giving him some publicity for something that he's not willing to take a stand on.
He said that I met with him and he said he was all for it.
Hey, did he submit any public comment?
Well, he not to me, but I thought Joel was working with Ted to get that.
I have a little bit of egg on my face here because part of the problem, or maybe 100% of the problem, was and Ted wasn't on our first meeting. He was on our like second or third. But Ted took a bunch of great notes. He typed
Ted Millar, was that the first one?
Right,
Was
right,
August
right.
22nd. I have it written down. He was there.
Right,
I
but
wouldn't have come up with his name otherwise, Joel.
Right, but our first one wasn't the 22nd. That was like the second or third. So he typed up a whole bunch of great minutes, notes from the meeting. I'm like, hey, could you email those to me? And so he did. Then I asked him, hey, can I pass along these to my list? And I think I may have done a boo-boo. Maybe the campaign's mad at me, Tommy and or Ted, because I did pass them along to my list. I probably should have understood that to be the list of 10 or 20 core people, not 500 people on my list who include the media. So maybe I apologize to everybody here. I may have jumped the gun by, I kind of put it out to the media, you know, because there's a lot of people on my list. There's news reporters and everything. And so I may have kind of like one spitting twice shy. Tommy and Ted may be like, who is this Tyner guy? All of a sudden he's assuming that I'm going to be da-da-da-da-da. And so that could be part of the problem.
Well, I'm not ready to write him off yet, but we'll contact him.
And also it's he's useful for us because he's a name. I'm guessing his signs are all over the county. And he doesn't necessarily need our help, but he's a champion. And also we can, frankly, we can imagine and we can try to sell to people in Dutchess County that he's a little bit more zero waste than the Democrats in the county legislature. I didn't hear any Democrats in the county legislature say those two words. Lisa Call, who's a candidate, said those two words. I have a feeling that just about all of them are, you know, let's push towards zero waste and, you know, ramp up recycling and composting, get away from incineration. But anyway, we don't have to, I'll make up a couple of different flyers and I'll send it around and see what you guys think. On that note, I think it'd be great if it wasn't just me making flyers here in Oregon. You guys feel free to make up your own and email it around to us. Say, hey, I like that. I don't like that. But I think there's a real opportunity. I'm not saying this is the same thing as what happened in 2007, when the Poughkeepsie Journal put right on the front page, these are the legislators who voted yes to the well testing legislation that we editorialized for. Look at New Jersey, look at Rockland, look at Westchester County, where the properties change hands and the wells are tested for volatile organic chemicals. But when the Poughkeepsie Journal did this, that helped to flip the legislature from Republican majority to Democratic majority. And so we don't need, you're right, we don't need Tommy, but I think he's a useful champion with the others. And frankly, you know, after the first week in November, you know, I mean, we're in this for the long haul, right? The seven of us and a lot of other people that are, you know, I don't get mad at me. Next Tuesday, I'm going to be here at 8 o'clock. I fully understand if Neil and Mike have better things to do, if Jill and Doreen and my mom and Dave have things to do, but I'll just be sitting here talking to myself on Zoom. But anyway, I'll stop talking.
I'd like to talk to you a little bit about the flyer because you love flyers. I know this, but it means that we then have to find places to put them, and that's a very difficult thing to distribute all these flyers. So
to give to people, because a lot of people,
honey, we don't have people. We have to. We're at in the process. We can't just go out on the street and start. You know, you've got to build from the organizations that exist, and go ahead and make something.
Dave and Marcia,
make your flyer and let me see it, okay? So that I can, if it's got some information on it, that's good. I'd like that.
I haven't given Mike a chance to talk that much. Mr. Ewall, are you okay?
He was going to take a shower.
Yeah, yeah, I'm just here if you need me. Input that I can provide.
what was your take on the county executive's letter to my mom after she emailed him? Was this basically the same direct?
What's one with that? Is that one of the ones that
It's basically what he said on Thursday in front of the committee. He almost word for word, everything he said, he put in the letter, and which is kind of nice because I like to have that. I'd like to have all of that available to refute.
Yeah, I've read so many things. I'm not sure what you're talking about, but a lot of it's the same old talking points anyway.
I was talking to my mom as I was driving home from work today. I think it's only a matter of time before the Poughkeepsie Journal does a piece on this. Also, having been run through the mill of campaigns, I'm not sure the Poughkeepsie Journal is going to do right by us. But what the Republicans love to do in Dutchess County is, and Jill's probably been hit with this, is and I'm sure Doreen has experienced this in the town of Poughkeepsie, is they'll send out a really nasty mailing like the last weekend before election day, filled with attacks. So I would be shocked, frankly, if the Republicans in Dutchess County do not send out a mailing to not only to the municipalities that those 7 Democrats in the county legislature who voted the right way voted no. I wouldn't be surprised. I would bet you any amount of money that the Republican Party in Dutchess County is going to send that mailing all over Dutchess County, even to the candidates, because they're going to and say this is what they're realistic. They talk about zero waste, well, and all the garbage about methane, all the because the media, aside from Emily's wonderful article, has really not done us too many favors as far as educating the public. So I'm just letting you know that as a former elected official, I would appreciate it if we somehow could stay energized and broaden our numbers to try to attempt some sort of a mass educational campaign, because.
Well, I think that's what we intend to do. That's what I intend to do. I mean, we all should be going to our CACs and seeing if they're interested in this idea and what are they up to, and would they be interested in learning about it, and so on and so forth.
Could we come up with a petition that's way shorter than mine, or like a three sentence statement like WAS, the Westchester Alliance for Sustainable Solutions? You know, we all agree that Dutchess County should go towards zero waste. We all agree that Dutchess County should hire a zero waste consultant, and that the Dutchess County incinerator should be phased out as soon as possible. That's basically the 3-point pledge that WAS has. And I think Doreen has a hand up. She's going to tell us about what's happening tomorrow night. Go ahead, Doreen.
No, actually, what I'm going to tell you is you talked about the media before. And Joel, I don't know if you know this, but Hank Gross is no longer the owner of the Mid-Hudson News website.
Yeah, it's this former Republican Orange County state senator.
Yeah, so, Martucci isn't really going to be doing anything that's going to be making the Democrats look good. So he was the former New York State senator for Orange County.
I have a question. Are you done, Doreen? I'm sorry, I didn't mean
to. No, I'm done.
Okay. Is it possible to ask through Judy's organization or other grassroots organizations to ask the editor of the Poughkeepsie Journal for a meeting to talk about their editorial policy with regard to the incinerator? It's worked in other communities. It's not, I don't anticipate we're going to change his mind, but it may we may be rewarded by at least having him allow us to print our point of view.
Do you mean that they might have an opinion on it already, or are you trying to find out what their opinion is on it?
I'm assuming, I don't know what their opinion is.
Me neither.
Well, here's the problem, Neil, is that the Poughkeepsie Journal doesn't have an opinion page anymore. And there's no more editorials.
My
So,
gosh, how strange.
yeah, so that's a problem.
Hmm.
The Poughkeepsie Journal is a shell
I see.
of its former self.
Okay, well, thank you for that. I did not know that.
Yeah.
Are there other like weeklies or other news journals for that cover the county?
Go ahead, Doreen.
Still printed is there's the Northern Dutchess News and the Southern Dutchess News, and Jill probably knows, you know, out in her area what Millerton or what other papers there are.
I did mention this to Millerton News, and I'm going to follow up with them.